We usually think of music as, well, entertainment, something to listen to. But what if it was more than that? What if music could actually be a key that unlocks a voice we thought might be lost for good? That's what we're diving into today, the incredible and scientifically backed connection between music and communication for people with autism. This quote, it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. This isn't about training someone to be the next pop star. No, this is about something so much more fundamental. It's about giving a child the ability to say, "Mommy," or "more please." I mean, what a truly massive step forward that is. So let's start with the story behind that quote. It's really a story about a breakthrough, a genuine sound of hope for kids who, until then, had been living in silence. Okay, so here's the setup. A groundbreaking study took on 6 nonverbal kids with autism. But you have to understand, this wasn't just any group. These kids, aged 5 to 9, had already gone through months, even years of traditional speech therapy with almost zero progress. They were, for all practical purposes, completely nonverbal.
So what do? They use this method called AMMT, and it's actually beautiful in its simplicity. The therapist takes a phrase like "more please," and instead of just saying it, they sing it. And as they sing, they tap out the syllables on a pair of tuned drums. The child is then encouraged to copy it all, the sounds and the tapping. It physically links what they hear to what they do.
And the result? Get this. It wasn't just 1 or 2 kids. Every single child. After 40 sessions, all 6 of them started to produce intelligible words. For some, it was the first time in their entire lives. This therapy worked where everything else had failed.
So to really appreciate why that result is so absolutely incredible, we need to take a quick step back and understand the communication challenge at the core of autism spectrum disorder.
Okay, so here's the clinical definition. It points to 2 main things. But for our story today, that first one is the key. Deficits in social communication and interaction. That's the mountain these kids are trying to climb.
And just how big is that mountain? Well, this number really puts it in perspective. Research shows that as many as half, 50% of all children diagnosed with ASD never develop functional speech. Just let that sink in for a second. Half. It's a massive, massive challenge.
So, if the problem is that big, how on earth does music become the solution? Let's unpack how music can be used not just for fun, but as a real, legitimate form of medicine. And let's be super clear about something. Music therapy is not just putting on some relaxing music in the background. Not at all. It's a clinical, goal-oriented practice. Instead of just listening, it's an active, structured process with interventions designed for each specific person. And it's always led by a trained, credentialed professional. So, why does it work so well for autism? Well, there's a bunch of reasons. For one, a lot of people with ASD actually have a really high aptitude for music. But the real magic is happening inside the brain. Think of it like this. If the main highway for language is completely blocked, music can open up this like a scenic back road that gets you to the same place. See, the neural pathways for music and language actually overlap. So therapy uses that musical route to wake up the brain's language centers from a different angle. Plus, music is predictable, it's structured, and it fires up the part of our brain that's wired for imitation, which, you guessed it, is a critical first step to learning how to speak.
So that's the theory, the why it works. But what does it actually look like in practice? Let's take a peek inside a therapy session.
A lot of the time, it starts right here. Before you even get to specific goals like speech, the therapist's first job is just to build a relationship, to build trust. And they do it through these shared musical moments, creating a connection without ever needing to say a word. This probably looks a little familiar, right? Just like in that study we talked about, they're using instruments like these drums. But this isn't just about banging away and having fun. This is targeted practice. It's building the absolute foundational blocks of speech, imitation, rhythm, and motor skills. And it doesn't just happen one-on-one. In group sessions, the whole dynamic shifts. Now, playing music together becomes a tool for teaching crucial social skills, like learning to take turns, making eye contact, or sharing attention on the same thing at the same time. So you can see, therapists have this whole toolkit of techniques they can use. They might use improvisation, letting a child express themselves completely freely on an instrument. They'll use that melodic intonation we saw, using melody to shape sounds into words. And of course, they use structured play to work on everything from social skills to motor control. Every single activity is a deliberate, evidence-based method, picked for a very specific reason. So let's pull all these threads together and look at the big picture here, because this is about unlocking so much more than just speech.
The benefits really are wide-ranging. We're not just talking about communication here. This work improves social skills, it helps with emotional regulation, it builds motor skills, and it can even give a boost to cognitive functions like our ability to pay attention. It touches pretty much every area of development.
And these aren't just hopeful ideas. These are proven, documented outcomes from years of research. We're talking about real, measurable improvements in social engagement. We see kids get better at both verbal and nonverbal communication. It's even been shown to help reduce challenging behaviors, all while giving them an amazing outlet for emotional connection and self-expression.
So, at the end of the day, the most important thing to remember is this. Music therapy isn't some fringe idea. It's a clinical, evidence-based profession that uses the power of music to forge a unique and incredibly effective path toward connection, communication, and growth. Which really leaves you with a pretty powerful thought, doesn't it? For people who were locked away in silence, music became the key. And it just makes you wonder, if it can unlock something as fundamental as a human voice, what other incredible potential is just sitting there, waiting for us to discover it through the power of sound?